Okay, so before we get into this video, I want to add that in the previous videos when I started doing this specific series, I did not necessarily get all the information, as in I didn't go back to the game and understand everything of what was happening in the main story aside from the interviews before diving into the interviews. So granted, it's still okay since I was sort of just understanding it from a perspective of I don't really know what's happening and let's figure it out through the interviews. But the interviews obviously don't tell the whole story, they supplement it. So after delving back into like recapping and understand the actual main story, we understand some things. One of the main things is that Bridget being Amelie isn't a question. The way I framed it in a specific video a few videos ago was that it was a question, like maybe she is, it's a theory, we don't know, but no, that straight up is not true. Now granted, a lot of the information is in these interviews, right? They're just in later interviews, right? Not all of them are listed in Die-Hardman's. They're going to be in later interviews. A lot of this information about a lot of intricate stuff, but the question of specifically Amelie being Bridget isn't a question, and I made it seem like it was a question, so my bad. It's not a question, it just is what it is. It's understood in the story of the first game. So by the end of the game, that's understood based on what Die-Hardman actually says, where then I said in that previous video where technically I was right, even when I guessed it, I said that she lied to Die-Hardman, and that was true. She did lie to Die-Hardman, and he then found out later on, right? Actually pretty much really into the late game. Like he found out pretty decently later on. He didn't find out immediately. It took him a bit of time. But when he did finally find out, he realized that she just couldn't have children, right? She had like cancer in that sort of area or something like that, and basically she couldn't have children, so there's no way that she would have a child and have a virgin birth even then. And the fact that she said it was a virgin birth too made no sense too. It was like, okay, good one, bro. It's like, yeah, it just didn't make sense, right? So yeah, it just seemed a little fishy in the way that she was talking about everything, and it made sense, and he didn't know. So yeah, confirmed, 100% confirmed, Amelie is Bridget. That's just established in the story. If I would have went back and looked at the main story before talking, maybe I would have known. But I went back, I looked at some stuff. Some of it's still a little hard to understand, but I have a better picture of what everything is really meaning within the story. It makes sense now, right? At least it's not 100% making sense. Like it's still kind of wacky, but overall it makes sense. They use a lot of weird words in the talking like language of stuff, but it's simpler than it seems. Like the beach, for example, they use the beach as like a weird way of talking about it, but it's literally just a purgatory. That's it. The beach is just purgatory. That's it. That's literally all it is. And then when they talk about, oh, there's like things that are in the beach, the things died and they went to the beach, purgatory, and they're coming back. That's what's happened. Why are they coming back? Well, we're going to get into it in this episode, most likely. But yeah, they're coming back, right? But when they come back, as we just talked about before, void outs happen. And what happens with void outs, it's just antimatter and matter, coming together, boom. I mean, dead interacting with life. We don't have to talk about antimatter or matter, whatever it is. The point is, dead thing come from beach, come from purgatory, touch thing that live, that is living. Those things don't like to interact. Big, boom. I'm gonna start simplifying it for y'all, all right? Because these big words, all this different stuff, let's simplify it, okay? That's really what we're trying to do with these videos. Let's simplify it. It's that simple. With Amelie, she is Bridget, you know what I mean? Basically, the version of her that's on the beach is basically just a soul. It's her soul that's on the beach. Because of the way that they talk about things, they have two different versions of themselves. Rather than just them being all kind of in one, they have a soul and they have a body. And the soul, or hers in particular, is on the beach. That's why she doesn't age on the beach, because souls don't age in the lore of this game. So it's just that simple. All right, we're simplifying it. That's what we're about to do. But in this video, we're going to be jumping into, by the way, if you haven't seen the previous episodes, go ahead and check them out. We are more freeform with these videos. We're doing less like scripted lore reading. We're more freeform. So I'm sorry if you don't like these long videos. This is just me trying to be natural and authentic, right? And this is how I talk. So the previous videos, not all of them are like that, but at least the previous one right before this should be. Go ahead and check them out. Videos are coming out soon. We're going crazy. Go ahead and check out the previous episode. So let's get into the rest of the Die-Hardman stuff. Basically just his backgrounds and then like his confessions about the BBs, right? So he's talking about the BBs. He doesn't go in depth, but he does just talk about the fact that Deadman, and he's referencing something that we haven't necessarily got to yet, but I guess there's nothing you can do about that, all right? When we get to it, but you're already hearing about it right now, all right? It is what it is. But Deadman basically said that BBs were recognized as both media for chiral communications and as essentially human sacrifices. So Yeah, that's Die-Hardman is saying that these babies are not being able to be born. Like they don't get to live a life because of this experiment, right? Because of the way that they're doing this. These babies don't really get to be born and live a life. Granted, there are rare cases where that happens. They are able to live a life, but for the most part, they do not get to live a life. And then when they're faulty, they get literally burned. It's crazy. It's crazy. But either way, like it's not even a thing where they get born and from the jump it's going in insano mode. Like, okay, when we get born, now we have a horrible life. No, they don't even get a life to start with. They don't even get to get born yet. That's not it. But he said that basically these BB pods, they assumed that they were stolen by the terrorists, the separatists, all them guys. But as we've seen from Higgs, he doesn't even have a BB, right? He just has a doll in there. So yeah, that doesn't really work. Either way, he says that the true nature of BBs remained a closely guarded secret that he couldn't tell anyone, right? He said that was the case from the very beginning, which is why following the Death Stranding, government officials not in the know were certain that it was an act of terror because no one knew it other than insiders. So only the insiders knew about the BB stuff, but that's the thing. He's trying to say that he knew, though. Like he knew all of this stuff. He knew why. Like he knew about the BBs. He knew why the Death Stranding was happening. Like he knew this. I'm sure he didn't know every single part of it, right? He obviously didn't know about Amelie being Bridget, but he did know about the BBs, and he knew what people didn't know in the grand populace, right? He had the insider knowledge, right? So the government officials, though, they didn't know that. They just thought, okay, it must be an act of terror. It must be terrorists or something, some type of bomb dropping or something. Like imagine that. Like that's the reality of what this world is, right? Imagine bombs. You assume they're like nuclear bombs that are dropping on U.S. soil, and they're just dropping everywhere. You're like, oh, we're getting bombed to see in the world. Oh no! And technically, the second part is true, but it's not bombs. But you think it is, right? You think it is. You think it's just nukes being dropped everywhere, everything blowing up, boom, 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 boom. But no, it's not. It's actually just void outs. It's just the land of the living interacting with the land of the dead. That's it. That's pretty interesting. I don't know about you, but he says the actual cause, of course, was a C-section performed on a brain-dead pregnant woman. As you'll have heard, the surgeon who performed the operation saw BT at the time. He says, as you'll have heard. So he's saying that's been referenced before or something, right? And then he says, Bridget, who had just been inaugurated as president, believed that BBs could be used to prove to everyone that BTs did indeed exist. So BBs prove that BTs exist. Hopefully I said that right. By dragging this invisible woman threat, into the light, the people might come together again instead of continuing to drift apart. Now I'm keeping that in. There were terrible risks. She knew, but if America was to be whole once more, BTs couldn't remain hidden. If only we knew what would happen when we revealed them to the world. I'm sorry, this is taking a lot out of me. Can we pick it up later? So she knew about, obviously she knew about all this. She's the extinction entity person. She did it. Of course she know about the Death Stranding. She did the Death Stranding. She made it happen. Of course she know about all that, but she wanted to play it off. And he couldn't talk really much on it, but he had to come back later. But yeah, she knew about all that. She made it. She made it happen. And yeah, like the baby is not even born because their mother is dead and they're not born and they're still connected to that, which, let's be honest, realistically in real life, if you were born, your mother's dead, you're still alive, well, you're quote unquote still alive, but you haven't actually been born yet. You're still like a fetus and you're in like a makeshift pod to kind of like simulate being in the womb. Let's be honest, that doesn't even make any sense how you would just somehow, but like we're connected somehow still. And now we can sense undead things. It's like, makes sense in the world if we're looking supernaturally, but physics-wise, realistically-wise, that made no sense. But throughout what they're doing here, it makes sense only within Kojima game. It only makes sense when you look at Kojima game. Look at his mind. You could tell. It makes sense. It only makes sense once you think about, oh, wait, supernatural stuff. Oh, wait, the beach and stuff is there. Okay, that makes sense. So then he came back after a break, and he says the experiments continued after the Stranding, and that even though the official line was that they'd been shut down, that's how we came to realize that BBs weren't just a means with which we could see BTs. They have the power to connect us to the other side. Yeah, it's not just, oh, we can see BTs, but no, we're connected because they didn't have many other ways to understand how to connect. Of course, later on they connected through just Amelie in general, but the BBs just helped them understand how to even connect over there. He says power like that could help us make America great again. Now he doesn't say make America great again. He says whole again. But, I should not have even told you that. All right, surely. He says, it will make America great again, surely. He said, not all BBs were created equal, but then one had potential that was off the charts. And he said, you know which one I'm talking about. And I believe he's talking about Sam in this specific case. And he said it was chosen to serve as his first sacrifice. Yeah, he's definitely talking about Sam right now, but he didn't have the stomach to see it through. So he wanted it to be the first, like basically saying that Sam was going to be the first sacrifice, the first real, like full on, like this is the BB. Like this is really our first like venture into this world of creating BBs. And he didn't even want to see it happen, bro. He didn't want to see it. He couldn't stomach it. He said he couldn't forsake that personal connection to save the world, I guess, right? Because he was connected to his father, right? He was connected to Sam's father. So he was already all up in there. He was all in a family life, everything. And now you're seeing this horrendous display taking place in front of you. Just taking a kid, not even letting them be born anymore. Saying, oh, you don't get to be born no more. And your mother gonna die. Bye-bye. Yeah, have fun with that. You know what I mean? So he tried to actually rescue Sam at that point. He betrayed the president, who obviously wanted to make the BBs. And then he betrayed his country in the process. And because of that, both Cliff and his BB ended up dead. And there's a cutscene about it where basically he's gonna like, oh, I caught you stuff, and then basically he's made to shoot the two of them because Cliff is trying to get his baby out of there. But then Bridget essentially kills them. So what's funny is Bridget killed another man's baby, brought it back to life, and made it her own. Now, granted, she was holding the gun that Die-Hardman had in his hand and shot with. Like, he's the one who had the gun in his hand, but he didn't really shoot it. It was her. But either way, I consider that her killing him. You killed another man's baby, brought him back to life just so he could be your son again. That is crazy. No wonder he ain't like her, bro. No wonder Sam ain't like her like that. No wonder. No, of course he didn't know that, but you know what I mean. No, it makes sense. The type of person we're dealing with right now. He actually said it must have weighed on Bridget too. How could it not? And I'm like, what? She does not care. Why else would she have taken in that little BB who died and came back to life as her own son? Another lie to comfort and console us. But there's no pretending it didn't happen. Not after Sam told me about the flashbacks he experienced when hooked up to his own BB. Not after I realized Cliff had returned, realized he wasn't looking for a bridge baby, but his baby, his own flesh and blood. Now you know why I've devoted my life to the UCA. It's the only way I can begin to atone for what I've done. And you see that in the gameplay when you're always fighting Cliff. You think he's coming for the little BB that's in his hands, right? Lou, right? And Sam even says, I think he's coming for Lou at one point. Like, I think Lou is his child. And they're like, no, that don't make no sense. But no, he wasn't coming for his BB, like Sam's BB. He was coming for his Cliff's own BB, which in a sense he's saying, I'm coming for my baby, which is Sam, right? And you're fighting him. You're fighting your own dad for like no reason, but you don't even know all that. But he's coming for you at the end of the day. That's really what he's here for. So that was always cool. Of course, at that point, he wasn't really alive, but it is an idea. I mean, you guys are like fighting on the beach or something, right? So yeah, that's basically it for that part, though. It's basically just relating to all this whole thing is relating to how Die-Hardman felt like he failed Cliff and failed Sam. Right? That's why it's a confession. He feels like he failed them because he ended up, again, he didn't actually technically kill them, but you could say he killed them, right? You could say either way. You could go either way if you want to. I don't think it's technical, but he feels as though he basically killed him and killed not only one of his friends that he cares about a lot, but his friend's child. And that's different, bro. But after that, we do have a little bit more, and that's going to be in Die-Hardman's background. Very, very short ones. These are very short. First one is just saying his name, John Blake McClane, and it's just saying that he scored an above average in physical and mental aptitude tests. His talents were recognized by Captain Clifford Unger, who elected to give McClane special training. Under Captain Unger's command, McClane took part in several missions during which he earned a reputation for survival against all odds, as evidenced by his name, Die-Hardman. Basically just explaining, that boy don't die. That's why his name is Die-Hardman. It's like a counter thing. Like, he should be dying hard. man, but he's not thing. Like, oh, it's funny. I don't know. The following information, and this is the second one, Die-Hardman's background number 2, is concerning John Blake McClane's death was recovered following the activation of the Chiral network. It is presented without comment or interpretation. Interesting. Without comment or interpretation. Well, I'm gonna give you my interpretation and my comments. All personal data and official documentation concerning the subject indicate that he is deceased. He died hard, man. However, even after reconstruction and collation, I think it's collation. I actually said that word. It's COLLATION of data from additional sources, we are unable to confirm cremation of the subject's corpse. Unfortunately, recovery of incinerated records from the time in question has so far proved difficult on account of the incident's proximity to the death stranding. While the possibility that the corpse underwent necrosis and subsequently transformed into BT cannot be ruled out entirely, the probability is exceedingly low. In other words, there is no evidence that the subject is in fact dead. So that boy didn't actually die. He didn't die hard, man. It says that the significant portions of the subject's personal data appear to have been secretly modified and expunged. But forensic study has led us to the discovery of a living individual who bears a striking resemblance to the deceased. Subsequent analysis of genetic samples do indeed confirm a DNA match for this Die-Hardman. So he ain't die. Basically, because they said recovery of incinerated records from the time in question has so far proved difficult. So incinerating, but he ain't dead, right? And they said that he couldn't be a BT. Now, granted, they said that it cannot be ruled out entirely, but they had no evidence to show that he was burned, that his dead body was burned, or that he was a BT. There was no evidence that he died. But basically, this just relates to what we were talking about earlier. And Die-Hardman didn't die due to a cover-up, basically from Bridget covering it up, helping him cover it up. And it was a cover-up after helping Cliff Unger, Sam's dad, same boy we were talking about this whole time, and becoming a fugitive, right? So basically just, he faked his death so that he didn't get in no trouble, you know what I mean? That's what happened. So he faked a suicide is what it is what had happened. Then they said, oh, well, let's not remember who his old name was, John McClane. You are Die-Hardman. And then he put on a mask and he was like, okay, I don't want to show my face no more. But yeah, then he just followed Bridget because he and her had similar goals and she kind of needed his help too, so they just naturally started working together. But that's it for this one. That's pretty interesting. We finished up Die-Hardman and we basically just understand how he came to do everything they did, right? He was someone who was in the army and stuff, right? From what we remember from the main story, he had done stuff he said he was in many battles, right? And so many times he got close to death, but he didn't die. He hasn't known what death was like Sam has. And then when I believe he was actually working under Cliff, and Cliff was of course with his wife and they were doing these the BB experiments and stuff. But when they tried to save BB, him and Cliff, it was he was always on the side of Cliff. He felt bad, but he was always on Cliff's side. And when he ended up killing Cliff, of course he didn't actually, he was forced to, then it became a whole different thing where now it's almost like she kind of put it in motion to make Die-Hardman a pawn. So Bridget put in motion for Die-Hardman to be a pawn by doing all this stuff, fabricating these lies, putting everything together, putting these situations together so that he would be on her side. And then not only that, she also lied to him about her nature in general, and then bring back that person that she killed as Sam, right? Bring back Sam from the beach and just said, all right, now look at this baby again that you still feel guilty about. Look at this baby every day. Of course, not every day, but you know what I mean? You had to see him grow up, and that ain't good, bro. That's not a good way to treat mans. He did not need to feel guilty about anything. He felt guilty for years, for decades even, from what it seems. He did not need to feel that guilty. He did not. He did end up saying sorry to Sam at the end of the game. I do remember that in particular. He did end up saying sorry to Sam, but I don't think he even needed to, honestly. I don't even think he needed to. But honestly, that's kind of the big part of this game. This section with Die-Hardman and Bridget in the past relating to Sam is one of the bigger parts of this game. And we have, actually, I might as well, since we're past the first, part, I want to basically just show that in the next parts, we are going to be delving into more in one video, right? Because it might become a lot of videos if I don't do this. So we're going to delve into bigger portions in the coming videos. So since Deadman's is very, very short, he has like just a few, maybe like 6, 7 around that. He is going to be in one episode, one relatively long episode. So keep in mind, these episodes are going to be longer and longer. I'll try to keep them cut as much as I can, but they're kind of freeform talking, so they're going to be a little longer. That means I got to go record more footage for it, but you probably see more of the zipline gameplay. The zipline gameplay or going on the road. But yeah, the next part that we're going to get into is just all of Deadman, right? The whole Deadman section. We're just going to go in order too. So after that, we're going to do Hardman. Right, Hardman is going to be next, and he has actually some of the most in the entire game. He has some of the most stuff, so his might be a little long. I will try to split it into maybe only a few videos, and those ones will be coming out as well. And then we have Mama, that should be one video, and Lockney, they can probably all be in one. Mama and Lockney in the same video. And then we have Fragile, one video, right? We have the Bridget staff, maybe like 2 videos or something. Preppers, 2 videos. And then we have the journals of Higgs, which are actually pretty short. So depending, that could also be 2 videos, but it depends. Some of them are kind of long, so maybe a few. We'll have to see. And then we have Lucy's report, which is definitely interesting. We're talking about Lucy, which I think this is one's going to be very interesting because I believe Lucy is something we haven't really delved into much around this character. And I believe she should be related to Sam and also to Lou. In fact, I think Lucy might actually be, once we get into it, I believe Lucy should be Lou's actual like biological mother, right? I mean, I'm reading it right now. So I mean, it's saying that she said our baby's doing well. We're having a girl. I'm going to name her Louise. And Sam's already picked out that name, Lou. He's going to call her Lou. As I'm speaking, I'm reading that. So we get to that. There's much more there, but that's just like a snippet from one of them. And then we can finish it off with some other ones from just generally the other section. You know, there's another section. And if there's any more after that, cool. But that'll be about it after that. And then we'll move on to, by the time we're done with all these, let's be completely honest, we about to be playing Death Stranded too. You know what I'm saying? But I'm trying to get them out at least before the game comes out. So then you can go ahead and see the gameplay of Death Stranded 2 in its full entirety when I play it on my channel. Go ahead, get ready. You're gonna enjoy it. We're gonna stream it. About to go crazy with it. It's about to be cool. It's about to be fun. So keep that in mind. Stay tuned. And guess what? After we play it, we're gonna make more videos on it. Milk it dry. Let's go. All right, watch my other videos. They exist somewhere, so go ahead and watch them. They're probably good. And they probably have also mistakes, as I talked about before, but I'm trying, man. I'm trying.